Every one of you who has a phone in their hand should have a deep think about why they don't have removable batteries anymore. They tell us it's for better water resistance or to make your phone slimmer, but do you really believe that? Back then, you could just pop that sucker out, slap in your backup battery, and boom, you were back at 100. No power banks and no waiting around. They've made sure you can't ever do that again. Others say it's all about money, right? Because they want us to buy a new phone. But think about it, wouldn't they make more money selling backup batteries? The truth? The battery was the only thing you could control. Once you take away your ability to remove the battery, you can never really turn your phone off. Even if you hit that power button, it's still listening. How else do you think your phone switched itself on for the alarm? They needed a way to make sure we couldn't just cut the power. You pop that battery out, boom, no more tracking. So what do? They take away the option. And airplane mode? Yeah, that's a joke. That's like trusting incognito mode to keep you safe from the CIA. And here's the kicker. This was always the plan from the start. Once they figured we weren't catching on, they went all in on non-removable batteries. It's the perfect system. And here's where it gets really freaky. Every phone company, and I mean every single one, made this change at the same time without exception. Think about that for a second. Not a single mainstream phone manufacturer lets you just pop out the battery anymore. None of them. It's like they all got the same memo at the same time. And the craziest part? Nobody questioned it. We just accepted it. Like sheep, we went along with the idea that it's just the next step in technology. Phones are getting better. Now, I'm not saying toss your phone out, but next time you stare deep into that camera lens, ask yourself, who's really on the other end? I'm going to go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes. What if I told you pandas aren't just the cute little fuzzballs you see in the movies? No, think about it. Nobody's ever seen a panda in the wild. They're only in zoos, never in people's homes. Weird, right? And here's something else. There's no panda in the Chinese zodiac. How does China's most popular animal not make the cut? And there are no ancient paintings of pandas either, just ones from the last 100 years. It's like they just appeared out of nowhere. I mean, the first recorded panda sighting was in 1929. That's like yesterday. Oh, and have you seen how pandas are always dressed up in suits in pop culture? It's almost like they're trying to make us believe pandas are people in costumes. I mean, it's one of the only animals the Chinese don't eat. Something's off. And get this, pandas pee upside down, have slit-shaped eyes like cats. How does that even make sense? Female pandas are only fertile for like 24 to 36 hours a year. And their babies, they're born looking like gummy bears. You ever wonder how they survive? Well, they don't, because we've never seen a wild panda. Here's where it gets crazy. Pandas are used as political bargaining chips in panda diplomacy. Some say pandas are lab-made, others, they're people in suits. Think about it. They pee upside down, poop 40 times a day, ovulate once a year. And a group of pandas, it's literally called embarrassment. They're carnivores, but they eat bamboo. And every panda you see, it's going back to China. It's part of a bigger plan. So, are pandas real, or are we just being played? Either way, you're never going to look at them the same way again. I'm going to go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes. What if I told you there's parties going on for the social elite underground in a secret network of interconnected basements beneath your city? I'm talking miles and miles of tunnels, basements, and hidden chambers, all connected like a giant labyrinth. But here's the thing. It's not for storage, it's not for security, and it's definitely not for the public. No, this is where the real parties happen. Pizza parties. See? The social elite, the oligarchs, the people who really run things, they don't party like you and me. Their real celebrations happen below us, hidden from the judgmental eyes of the surface world. And they're exclusive. No invitations, no guest lists. If you weren't born into the right circles, you'll never even hear about them, let alone see them. But why all the secrecy? Why go to such extreme lengths to keep these places hidden? It's not just about privacy. It's shyness. Yeah, you heard me right. These people, these billionaires, These policymakers, they're incredibly shy down there. No cameras, no phones, no eyes, just them, their closest allies, and they definitely don't want you seeing them chowing down on some pizza and ice cream. Now, why pizza and ice cream? See, that's part of the culture. These parties aren't just about excess, they're about childhood, about freedom. These people have everything, but what they don't have, a normal life, a childhood without pressure. So when they get together, they don't just throw lavish feasts and pour $1,000 wine. They recreate the one thing they never got to experience, the sleepover. It sounds absurd, right? Maybe it's just half believable, but you'll never get an answer because remember, the people in charge, they don't want you down there. It's not about hiding crimes. It's about hiding their version of fun. And they don't want your kind of fun mixing with theirs. So next time you're walking through the city late at night and you pass by a vent blowing warm air into the cold streets, just know there could be a real wild party happening right beneath your feet. Look, if they come for me and my page disappears tomorrow, you'll only find my content on other platforms. The link's in my bio. And one last thing, I'm going to go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes. What if I told you Valentine's Day was banned by England in 1635? Its origins of turning goats into whips are suspect to say the least, and it's no coincidence people eat hearts on Valentine's Day. Chocolate ones, of course. You see, Valentine's Day isn't just about roses, chocolates, and love letters. No, that's just what they tell you. It started as a pagan fertility festival, one deeply rooted in ancient rituals of lust, control, and primal human impulses. Its origins trace back to the Greek festival Lycaea, which then led to the Roman festival Lupercalia. Each day was dedicated to their gods, Lycaeus, Pan, Zeus, Faunus, Lupercus, and Lupa. These gods were worshipped for their connection to nature, fertility, and the untamed forces of the earth. Pan and Faunus governed the wild, carnal instincts of humanity, while Zeus Lycaeus was associated with the untamable, primal energy of the natural world. During Lupercalia, the Luperci, a group of Roman priests, would gather at the sacred Lupercal cave to perform wild rituals. They began with the sacrifice of goats, followed by anointing themselves with the red stuff I can't mention here. Then they would use the goat skins to whip women in the streets, believing it would promote fertility and protect against infertility. The entire festival was about releasing primal instincts, a chaotic breakdown of societal norms through ecstatic behavior, wild dancing, and intense sexual freedoms. Both festivals involve sacrifices I can't go into detail about, frenzied rituals, and the release of primal instincts. The wildness was a ritualistic necessity, a breakdown of the rigid societal structures that kept human beings from truly connecting with their base, instinctual selves. In the 5th century, Pope Gelasius I, instead of eradicating these practices, Christianized them. He replaced the Roman gods with Saint Valentine, a Christian martyr. Through this shift, the fertility-driven, chaotic celebrations of Lupercalia were sanitized and rebranded as a day of romantic love, morphed into the more commercial version we know today. But let's not be fooled, that original raw energy still lurking under the surface. Fast forward to England in 1635, ever determined to protect their values. They saw Valentine's Day as a celebration of immorality. They banned the holiday outright, seeing it as a day that promoted excessive sexuality and disregard for the sanctity of marriage. In their eyes, the ritualistic excesses of Lupercalia, along with its connection to wild, untamed sexuality, had no place in their society. So, next time you hand someone a card or buy that chocolate heart, just remember, there's far more to Valentine's Day than meets the eye. Look, if they come for me and my page disappears tomorrow, you'll only find my content on other platforms. The link's in my bio. And one last thing, I'm going to go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes.
Interdimensional spirit dragons. You're saying those flying serpents actually existed, And that's why in the show Dragon Ball Z, the Eternal Dragon had the ability to grant 3 wishes, just like a genie.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Didn't you think it was strange that every continent has tales of these creatures? But here's the thing. Some say all dragons were like dinosaurs, walking, breathing, biological creatures. But the type of dragons I'm talking about didn't exist in our physical plane. They're here on Earth, but not in a way we can directly see or touch. Think of it like a parallel reality or another dimension layered over ours. They're right here with us, but just outside the frequencies our senses can detect. And that's why the stories of dragons and flying serpents are universal, because people throughout history caught glimpses of these beings when the veil between dimensions broke, even when it never should have. The Chinese dragon, for example, looks like a flying serpent, right? It doesn't have wings like the European dragons, but it floats effortlessly. That matches descriptions of beings that aren't bound by our laws of physics. They weren't flying in the traditional sense. They were moving just like demons, ghosts, or spirits. And it's not just China. Look at the Aztecs and the Mayans. They worshipped Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent. It was a god, a bringer of knowledge. Now think about that. Why would a flying serpent be associated with wisdom? Because these beings weren't just animals. They were far more advanced than that. They may have actually been manipulating us, depending on how you interpret the stories. But it gets even weirder. If you dig into ancient texts, you'll find references to serpents or dragons that came from the sky. How do isolated civilizations, with no contact with each other, all describe nearly identical creatures? Serpents that fly, serpents that bring fire, serpents that teach humanity forbidden knowledge. The real question is, why did they interact with us at all? Were they here to help us, to control us, or manipulate us? Whatever the reason, the fact that every culture on Earth has dragon legends means one thing. We weren't just imagining these beings. We were seeing them, even if we couldn't fully understand what they were. And let's talk about why these beings aren't seen anymore. People say, well, if they were real, where are they now? Well, that's a whole other theory. How? Since the 1700s, a grand plan was initiated to deceive people into believing that Satan and his army don't exist. That's why in the show, the Eternal Dragon could grant 3 wishes, just like a genie, a jinn. The truth is, dragons are just another form of demons, the flying serpent type. Look, if my page disappears tomorrow, you'll only find my content on other platforms. The link's in my bio. I'm gonna go ahead and say, this is just a joke for entertainment purposes.
Look, what if I told you that some of these celebrity deletes in the music industry are more strategic than tragic? Think about it, the music industry is a massive machine, and record companies, well, some say they own everything, from the artist's stage name to their image. Their entire persona is like a product, and when that product has had its peak in popularity, sometimes the only way to squeeze even more value out of it is by taking them off the world stage, literally. You ever notice the spike in sales immediately after an artist gets deleted? It's insane. There's an energy harvest going on, and it's fueling a new wave of fandom. Royalties skyrocket, fan base expands, and the more controversial the delete, the better, because the media buzz keeps pushing sales even higher, and it's not just about the music. Life insurance policies, royalties, and post-delete music releases. Artists are like walking cash cows for the industry. Even after they're gone, people can't get enough. But here's the kicker. What if these artists aren't really gone? What if some of them are simply given a new face, a new ID, and a completely different life? Once they've had their peak and the hype goes down, the label and artist come to an agreement. The tried and tested way to manufacture a second peak in revenue. We've seen it all before. Doses of a substance, car crashes, mysterious accidents. It's always the least expected, but it's designed that way to stir up maximum media attention. Record companies know this better than anyone, and they're the ones pulling the strings behind the scenes. A carefully orchestrated delete followed by a controversial media storm that pushes their value even higher. It's a playbook that keeps repeating itself. So next time you hear about an artist deleted under strange circumstances, ask yourself this: did it really happen? Or was it just another part of their plan, an energy harvest, where their demise was just another way for the label to cash in? I'm gonna go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes. Look, what if I told you werewolves aren't just some medieval fairy tale and that there's a real-world connection to where those legends really came from? A theory of full moons and human behavior that goes way deeper than we think. Talk to anyone who works in an emergency room or a psych ward, and they'll swear to you when it's a full moon, things get wild. We're talking more fights, violent outbursts, strange, unexplainable behavior. I mean, they'll tell you straight up, the place feels different. Like, people just lose their minds, almost like they're possessed by something. Even psychiatrists will check their on-call calendars against the lunar calendar. They'll see these odd, unexplainable trends, like clockwork during full moons, more patients, more escalated situations, and completely unusual circumstances. It's almost like people are more beast than human during these nights. And maybe that's where the idea of werewolves came from. Humans losing control under the full moon, acting more like animals, like a primal part of them takes over. I mean, think about it. The word lunatic literally comes from luna, the Latin word for moon. It's right there in the language. And then there's the word moonstruck. People used to think you could be driven crazy just by being under the influence of the moon. They weren't far off. Maybe this whole werewolf thing is just an exaggerated symbol for what's really happening to some of us when the moon is full. You know, people lose it, they transform, not physically, but mentally. But who's to say those ancient stories weren't based on real experiences? Maybe they knew something we've forgotten. So the next time there's a full moon, maybe take a second look at the people around you. Watch your back, because they might be closer to werewolves than you think. I'm gonna go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes. What if I told you that vampires are actually based on real people living among us today, right now? I'm talking about people who drink blood to live longer. It's not just a myth, it's a secret underground practice. Many people dress up as vampires around this time of year for fun, totally unaware of what they truly represent. And here's where it gets crazy. There are research papers suggesting that consuming human blood can slow down aging, maybe even reverse it. We're not talking about folklore or ancient myths. I mean actual modern day people who seek out blood like it's some kind of anti-aging elixir. And guess what? There have been criminal cases involving this, but the mainstream media barely touches it. Like this one case, it's wild. A guy hooks up with this woman, right? One night stand, totally normal. They do their thing, he passes out, no big deal. But when he wakes up, she's not next to him. She's over his arm and extracting, you know what, with some kind of tool, and she's guzzling it down, drinking like it's the best time she's ever had. Once he got to his senses, he immediately calls the cops on her. Now that's insane, but it happened. And here's the kicker. This isn't some isolated case. These people are out there, hidden in plain sight, and they're convinced that human blood holds the key to longevity. Some people do it with mutual consent, while others, not so much. There are even rumors that high-level secret groups do this regularly for ritual purposes, and those guys don't come out in the sunlight either. Some say it's the ultimate secret to staying young, and they're willing to do anything to get it. So next time someone talks about vampires being fiction, just remember, the truth might be stranger than you think, because let's face it, every myth starts with a grain of reality. I'm gonna go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes. The year is 2035 and you're on your way to pick up your daughter from AI daycare. Yeah, that's a thing now, but you being you, decide you're gonna be a rebel and drive your own car. Small problem. Driving yourself is totally illegal now, so you're already sitting at a 5-star wanted level. Sure, you can drive on private property, but they made that illegal too, except for a few exclusive islands where the elites of society live, but that's a whole other story. Now, you're a prime target for the AI enforcers with all kinds of thoughts running through your head. You remember having to ditch your beloved gas-powered car during the fuel crisis, but you just couldn't take another day of the soulless, mind-numbing, self-driving autopilot system. And You've been avoiding the AI public transport like the plague. Today was the day you did it. You sat in the driver's seat of your own car like some kind of psychopath, but you don't dare go a feather over the speed limit because all the live data gets sent back to their headquarters, as usual. At first, there are no AI drones or sirens in the distance, so you think you're in the clear, but then suddenly, boom, the automated seatbelt slams you down, locks you in place like some kind of fugitive. The car flips to autopilot and sets the next destination to the police station. The whole time, there's this giant scrolling text flashing across the side of your car. Criminal apprehended. You're being named and shamed, paraded through the smart city like the enemy of the state you are. And that's when it hits you. That's why they developed smart paint tech. I'm going to go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes. What if I told you we're still underestimating the power of Hollywood and movie magic? And I don't just mean the movies you see on the big screen. I'm talking about something way deeper. The name Hollywood isn't just a coincidence. It's no secret that Hollywood, the actual wood, has been used in witchcraft for centuries. Wands, staffs, all that, made from Hollywood. Now, think about that for a second. Is it just a coincidence that Hollywood, the place where movie magic happens, shares the same name? Or is there something more going on? And here's the kicker, what they present to you as reality. That's part of their script too. Hollywood is an entire industry built on shaping what we think is real, what we value, what we believe. There's always an agenda behind every move they make. Since its inception, a huge fraction of the population have programmed their morals, their values, and their worldviews from Hollywood movies, and it starts when you're just a kid. It's everywhere. Movies, TV shows, and even fake celebrity drama. They've been doing this for decades. If you're getting your moral compass from the big screen, they've already got you spitting out their values. Now, I'm not saying your family or friends are in on it, but how do you know they weren't brainwashed already? They grew up watching the same sort of shows, the same movies, absorbing the same values, just a few steps behind in the programming. It's a must to do some critical thinking. Get your programming from elsewhere, and remember, actions speak louder than words, because if not, Hollywood is going to mold you and your kids' worldview and actions before you even realize it. So next time you're watching a movie, ask yourself, are you just being entertained, or are they writing the subconscious script of your life? I'm going to go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes. What if I told you that it's no accident that cars have started to look uglier, blander, and all the same? Oh no, what happened was they all got the same memo from the higher-ups. Every car must look like they're squinting for dear life by 2025, squinting like a kid at the back of the class without his prescriptions. You can give it a Porky Pig nose if you like, but by God, it better be squinting. Think about it. Cars used to be something you'd dream about as a kid. Everyone had that one poster of a sports car on their wall, and owning one was like a rite of passage. But now, look around. All these new cars, they look like PCs on wheels. Soulless, lifeless, all designed to be forgettable. And here's the kicker. This isn't by accident. Oh no. This is part of a bigger plan. A plan by the oligarchs to stop people from wanting to own cars altogether. Ideally, they don't want us driving at all in the future. They'd much rather have us using advanced AI-based public transport, driverless cabs, buses, trains, all automated, all controlled. So how do they make this shift? Well, one of the easiest ways is to kill the passion. Back in the day, cars had character, they had soul. You could fall in love with a car. But today, these things don't even have faces anymore. It's like they're closing their eyes. Why? Because the eyes are the windows to the soul, and these cars, they don't have one. They're designed to be seen as a utility, nothing more and nothing less. No passion, no love, just machines. And on top of all that, they create a fuel crisis, introduce pay per mile, ban diesel and petrol, ruin Top Gear. Make insurance cost more than your family, and you're not sure if the next available driving test is before or after World War III. I mean, what's left at that point to inspire someone? You can't inspire kids to dream of owning something when it looks like a PC on wheels, and that's the point. They want to make cars so bland, so soulless, that the next generation won't even care about owning one. It's all part of the shift to make us more than happy to hop into some futuristic, self-driving, AI-controlled cab or bus. They're conditioning us, one ugly car at a time. Next time you see one of those new cars, take a closer look. It's not just a bad design choice, it's by design. They want us to forget what cars used to mean. I'm gonna go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes. What if I told you industry plants aren't just in Hollywood or the music industry? They're right here on social media. Most people think industry plants are just singers, rappers, or actors, people with massive fame, right? But what if I told you that they're also on platforms like YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok? That's right, these plants are propped up right here in the world of influencers, and you've probably seen them without even realizing it. A new niche pops up, whether it's gaming, lifestyle vlogging, and at first, it's always some authentic influencer who creates it. They're the ones putting in the hard work, building a community from scratch, and doing it because they love it. But then once that niche gets some traction, something strange happens out of nowhere. An influencer comes in and blows up overnight, and that's your first red flag. A single viral video, and suddenly they're everywhere. Millions of views, sponsorships, deals. It's like they appeared out of thin air. That's no accident. These industry plants are strategically placed to take over once a niche shows real potential. First, they skyrocket to fame from just one viral moment. Their rise feels too quick, too perfect. It's always one video that feels too well-timed, too well-produced, too scripted. And then there's this out of nowhere. They always seem to have connections with famous celebrities. How does a YouTuber or Twitch streamer who just blew up out of nowhere suddenly have a collab with an A-lister? It's not luck, it's by design. These industry plants have backing from powerful forces, and they're here to overshadow the real creators. The goal? To control the narrative and keep the attention on the people they want in the spotlight. The original creators, the ones who built the niche, they're the ones who genuinely connected with their audience, but the plants, they're placed there to dominate, to keep eyes on the brand, the product, the agenda, and most people don't even notice. They think, oh, this person's just really talented, but it's the tech giants that control the algorithm. So next time you see someone blow up on social media, think about this. Was it really organic? Or are they just another plant, strategically placed to take control of the niche? Look closely, because once you start seeing the signs, they're impossible to miss. I'm gonna go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes. The year is 2035, and you've got version 10 of your personal humanoid robot sleeping with your wife, and it's stronger, faster, and smarter than you in every way. It cooks, it cleans, it even helps the kids with their homework. But what happens when it starts doing things you didn't expect? Like you wake up in the middle of the night and it's just standing there watching you. Its glowing eyes locked on your face like it's studying you. Like you ask it what it's doing and it calmly says, ensuring your safety. But the thing is, you're not sure if it's really there for protection or just biding its time. And one day you notice your wife's been acting strange. She's laughing at jokes you didn't make, spending more time in the kitchen when you're not around. Turns out the robot's been getting too friendly. And here's the kicker. It's better looking, more charming, never tired, never wrong. Always has time for a bedtime cuddle and never forgets an anniversary. How do you compete with that? And then there's gaslighting. It starts small. Like, you're sure you left your keys on the table, but now they're on the counter, and the robot swears it didn't move them. But it just keeps happening over and over until you're questioning your own sanity. It's making you think you're losing it, and you don't want to know what happens if it gets hacked or gets a virus. Oh, and don't forget the kids. Yeah, your own kids might start liking the robot more than you. Dad, why can't you help me with math like the robot? Dad, the robot's way faster than you? Dad, remember when the robot dunked on you last week? Suddenly, you're not just competing with other parents, you're competing with a literal machine. And guess what? That's right, your own children respect it more than you. By 2050, it's not going to be about whether you have a robot it's going to be about whether you can escape its wrath. I'm going to go ahead and say this is all for entertainment purposes and entirely fictional, if you know what I mean. Don't come for me. What if I told you you can be more attractive by ingesting a parasite? I don't recommend it, but studies have shown that Toxoplasma gondii, a mind-controlling parasite, can actually manipulate physical traits and behavior to make their host more attractive to potential mates. Now, if you think about it, this sounds a lot like how demons work. Demons can take over people, right? But they don't just take control, they influence, they corrupt, they make you act in ways you wouldn't normally, and oftentimes they do it by appealing to your desires. And here's where it gets really eerie. Both parasites and demons are masters of mind control. Parasites like Toxoplasma can make rats run straight toward cats to get eaten. In humans, it's linked to reckless behavior, more risk-taking, more impulsiveness. It's like these little creatures have a direct line to your brain, rewriting your instincts for their own purposes. Attractiveness is another connection between the two. In ancient texts, demons are often depicted as scary, but also causing seductive behavior, leading people astray through temptation and desire. Parasites, they also look freaky, and they do something oddly similar. One literally makes ants climb to the top of grass blades so they'll be eaten. Scientists have found that Toxoplasma can make infected men and women more attractive, even changing facial features subtly to increase sexual desirability. It's like the parasite is crafting you into the perfect bait. And here's a biblical twist for you. Demons have always been linked to disease, madness, and corruption. What if back then people were describing what we now call parasites, or that there's a link between the two? Invisible forces that invade your body, control your behavior, and slowly drain you of life. Think about it. Ancient people saw disease and possession as two sides of the same coin. So the next time you hear about parasites, consider this. Are we really so sure that demons and parasites aren't connected? After all, they've both got the same goal: control. I'm going to go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes. There's a reason why humans naturally find clowns scary, and the answer will shock you, and it goes way deeper than just some bad childhood experience or a creepy movie. They represent something. Think about it. Those giant shoes, they represent their massive, unnatural feet. The gloves, they're not for show. They're a representation of their huge, terrifying hands. And clowns on stilts, that's because these beings were massive, towering over anyone who had the misfortune of seeing them. And the multicolored clothing, that's not random. It reflects their psychedelic colored skin. Not something you'd forget if you saw it. And those black and white checkered patterns or stripes, they symbolize their fractal, interdimensional nature. These beings didn't exist fully in our world. They're like something out of a twisted, multi-dimensional nightmare. Now take a second look at jesters or jokers throughout history. You ever notice how they wear hats with points, almost like devil horns? That's not a coincidence. It's a nod to the fact that these beings had horns, or at least something like them. And the red nose and lips, well, let's just say you really don't want to know what those represent. But here's the kicker. You see this caricature all over the world. In different cultures, they paint their faces white with chalk or paint, adding those red lines or patterns. They put on these oversized headdresses and wear bright, colorful clothes. It's like everyone in every culture somehow knew about these creatures, and they all decided to pay tribute to them. No, it's not that simple. The real reason, it's because clowns are a caricature of how interdimensional beings, yeah, I'm talking demons, used to present themselves to put fear into people. I mean, really, where do you think the idea of clowns even came from? It didn't just pop up from nowhere. It came from somewhere dark, somewhere ancient, somewhere terrifying. I'm going to go ahead and say this is all for entertainment purposes and entirely fictional, if you know what I mean. Don't come for me. What if I told you that almost every celebrity has an alter ego, but it's not just for show? Sure, they say it's all about performance, giving them confidence on stage, right? Like they're tapping into some larger-than-life persona to handle the pressure of fame. But what if there's something much deeper going on? I'm talking about getting help from another realm. Some say these alter egos are gateways, channels for something far more powerful. Think about it. Why do so many of these celebrities openly talk about their alter egos as if they were real people, almost like they're summoning someone or something? What if these alter egos aren't just imaginary? What if they're actual entities from a different dimension? And what if some of these entities aren't exactly friendly? Others say that some of the biggest stars have made some kind of deals to get where they are, deals with beings who give them the talent, the charisma, the voice, the moves, whatever they need to project themselves to fame and fortune. Think about it. Whenever their alter ego takes over, they seem like a different human, performing at superhuman levels, like they're channeling something beyond human ability. It's no coincidence that many celebrities admit they're not themselves when they're performing. But is it all just an act, or is there something more sinister behind that mask? And here's where it gets even creepier. Some cultures believe that certain rituals, words, or even symbols can invite these beings in, and once they're in, they stay. Like they're a passenger in their own body, just along for the ride while something else drives. Does that sound like artistic expression to you, or something else? The real question is, what kind of deal are these celebrities making with their alter egos? And more importantly, who or what are these alter egos really? The truth might be stranger than we can imagine. I'm going to go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes. What if I told you every song you've ever heard was actually casting a spell on you? Think about it. Songs aren't just words with a beat. They're incantations, rituals wrapped in melody. The word chant, look it up. It literally means spell in French. You know that phrase, life and death are in the power of the tongue? It's true. Words can create and destroy. And when you add a melody to it, it gets deep into your subconscious. That's why music sticks with you. That's why you can't shake it. Now, let's take it a step further. What happens when you listen to a song on repeat? You didn't even like it at first, right? But then something changes. You're humming along, you know all the lyrics, and suddenly you feel it. That's the spell working. It's programming you. Here's the wild part. Scientists have proven that the human brain can't reject information transferred through sound. It goes straight in, unfiltered. Think about the power in that. A song can implant thoughts, emotions, ideas, all without you even realizing it. Some of you will claim to only listen to good songs, but let's face it, the only ones who know how bad a song is are the ones who made it. Pretty much all the songs have been produced by the same entities at the top, even 50 years back when the words weren't as bad. They were just leading us to where we are today, one small step at a time. And those artists, they know this. They know exactly what they're doing when they craft a hit. That hook that you can't get out of your head, that's no accident. It's by design. So next time you're singing along to a track, ask yourself, what kind of spell am I casting upon me? I'm going to go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes. What if I told you he's seen the deep underground bases and even witnessed the cloning technology with his own eyes? He claims he was brought into the oligarch's inner circle, trapped there for years. You know, these powerful people supposedly have cloning technology that allows them to have their consciousness transferred to a cloned version of themselves while they are in REM sleep, using advanced technology hidden in secret facilities. The cloned versions of these people are kept in cloning centers, which are physically located deep underground, often referred to as deep underground military bases, or DUMBS. Now here's where it gets wild. He claims he's written almost every major hit song since the late 1980s, while at this deep underground cloning center. The story goes that the oligarchs discovered his magical talent for creating hit songs that could skyrocket a celebrity's career. Big-name artists would supposedly visit this cloning center, asking him for that one perfect song to launch them to stardom. But here's the catch. If he refused to write a song or just couldn't come up with a good song on the spot, there would be severe consequences, in which case his consciousness would be transferred to his original host body back in his town. He even says he left clues in some of the lyrics of the songs he wrote. Many of the songs he mentions deal with similar themes that he talks about in his interviews. It's almost unbelievable how he's been able to weave this one story across so many different hits. I'm going to go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes. What if I told you dinosaurs aren't just those clumsy reptiles with little baby arms you see in the movies? No, they were something far more terrifying. They were dragons. And trust me, the evidence is way too crazy to ignore. The Chinese zodiac, right? It's made up of real animals. A pig, a dog, the tiger, the goat. They even got a rat in there. 11 real creatures. And then there's the dragon. Why would they throw in one mythical animal with 11 real ones? Now, why do they show up in every single culture? From Europe to Asia, Africa to the Americas. Every ancient civilization has stories of these fire-breathing beasts. Why would these cultures, separated by vast oceans, all end up with the same creatures in their myths? Now here's where it starts to get wicked. Think about the T-Rex for a second. You know how it's always drawn with those teeny adorable meme arms? Yeah, we all had a good laugh. But what if we've been totally wrong? What if those arms were never arms at all? Picture an ostrich skeleton, small arms, but with wings. The T-Rex. Those arms were wings, man. Massive, terrifying wings it once had in its glory. Don't believe me yet. Here's something wild. In a 1946 dictionary, you can actually find listed under the entry dragon, now rare. That's right, rare, not extinct. The term dinosaur, that wasn't even a thing until 1841. Before that, for most of human history, we called them what they really were: dragons, the legends, the stories. Our ancestors weren't making things up, they were documenting history. So next time you see a T-Rex skeleton at a museum, don't think of it as just a dinosaur. Think about the wings it once had that tore through the skies. I'm gonna go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes. What if I told you there's been screams heard from within shipping containers by port workers, allegedly on a private island where the most powerful celebrities live, the oligarchs? And here's the thing, for years, port workers have heard the screams, always, at night. Allegedly, at first it was just whispers, rumors passed between shifts. You know how people can exaggerate, but over time, it became impossible to ignore. Screams, real human screams, coming from inside these containers. Now, you might be wondering, why didn't anyone blow the whistle sooner? Well, here's where it starts to get wicked. Every time someone tried to speak up, they disappeared, gone, their families, silenced by these airtight NDAs they had to sign. It was almost like the screams weren't just a coincidence, but a warning. But just recently, things took a turn no one expected. The workers, yeah, all of them, decided they'd had enough. They went on strike. No more unloading the containers, no more staying quiet, and as the media started paying attention, so did the public. Everyone wanted to know what's in those containers, who's behind all this. So, the public did what the authorities refused to: an investigation. People got bold. They opened the containers, expecting the worst. I mean, we're talking about an island right next to the port where some of the most powerful people on the planet are hiding away. You'd think there had to be something dark going on. But you know what they found? Just fast food with desserts, the stuff they serve at these high-end parties. No people, no hidden secret. They just love their junk food. But here's the thing, none of it added up. If it's just food, then where did those screams come from? Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it's just one big misunderstanding. maybe we've only scratched the surface, or maybe it's just food for thought. I'm gonna go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes. This story is a work of fiction and is not based on real events, people, or places. Any resemblance to actual persons or real-life events is purely coincidental. What if I told you right beneath your feet there's an underground network of tunnels and megacities built for the world's most powerful people? I'm not talking about your average subway system. No, I'm talking about entire cities, bigger than New York, but they're invisible. You've never seen them. You've never even heard of them, but they're there. You really think they'd build all these subway systems and just stop there? Not make anything for themselves? No, think about it. The oligarchs, the tech giants, the royalty, they just built subway systems and left it at that. Do you really believe that? No. They've got entire luxury cities down there. Mega cities with everything they could ever need. We're talking private hospitals, gourmet restaurants, entertainment hubs that make Vegas look like a children's arcade. They don't just survive, they thrive in ways we can't even imagine. And guess what? They're powered by renewable energy that you and I can't even access. The kind of energy that would wipe out the need for oil, gas, or even electricity as we know it. It's so advanced, they don't want us knowing it exists. There's an underground bullet train faster than anything you've ever seen that connects these megacities. Want to go from one luxury underground city to another? You're there in minutes. No traffic, no pollution, just pure, uninterrupted access to the kind of life we'll never see. They're preparing for something. Some say it's climate change, others think it's the collapse of society. But whatever it is, these oligarchs have an escape plan, and it's been in place for years. The tunnels, the cities, they're not just for now, they're for the future. They're for after the world up here collapses. And when that happens, the question is, where will you be? Because while we're stuck in the chaos, they'll be sipping champagne and living like kings underground, right beneath our feet. The truth is down there. You just have to look. I'm gonna go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes. Don't make the same mistake as me. I lost my home to spiders. You know, a lot of people are out here complaining that summer's over, right? But me, dude, I'm glad summer's over, and I'll tell you why. The spiders are finally gone. Seriously, those things freak me out, man. So one night, my daughter calls me, says there's a big spider in her room. I'm thinking, all right, how big could it be? You know, the usual dad thing. I grab this old broom from the garage, thinking I'm gonna handle this like a pro. I walk into her room and, dude, this thing's massive. It's just chilling there, right on the wall. And I'm looking at it like, okay, this is a legit problem. My daughter's freaking out. She's like, Dad, you gotta do something. So I go up to it with the broom, you know, like, I got this. I swing at it, and I swear to you, I feel this thing push back, like, for real. I actually felt resistance. It was like this spider was deadlifting the broom. I just froze for a second, realizing I'd be outmuscled by an arachnid. My daughter's staring at me, wide-eyed, and in that moment, I'm thinking, we're not safe here. So I put the broom down, turned to my daughter and said, pack your stuff, kid. We're moving out. That spider won the house that day. What if I told you in a few years you're going to miss that Indian interaction you got through customer service, because soon it's just going to be algorithms, AI bots handling everything. That fitness trainer you always liked, yeah, he's AI. Therapy, it's going to be handled by AI too. Imagine pouring your heart out to a machine only to get, I understand, would you like to upgrade your emotional package for $9.99? That's your future. If you have a mental breakdown and get into some trouble, it'll be AI in the courtrooms. Imagine your fate being decided by a robot judge, programmed without empathy or compassion. Cat and dogs will be out of jobs too. Once they come out with the iDog 16 Pro Max, your real pets will meet the Great Depression. There'll be an AI matchmaking service if you're still lonely, who always tells you that your only match is an AI person. even getting recognized by your AI boss just won't hit the same. Stand-up comedians? Yeah, AI too. That's what they're training me to be. And even those small random interactions, like a rideshare driver who makes small talk or a mail carrier who waves at you, those will be gone. You'll get AI drivers, cold and silent. Mail carriers who are just robots handing you your package with no humanity left in it. There'll still be AI mechanics who find ways to scam you in new and innovative ways. This is the future. You made my day, a stranger tells you, but you walk away knowing it meant absolutely nothing. I'm going to go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes. So you're telling me that humanity walked the moon, but no one's got a cure for baldness in 2024. So we can build a rocket, shoot it 238,000 miles into space, have it land on a dusty rock, bring it back safely, but we can't stop a little hair from falling out? Are you freaking trolling me? We've got self-driving cars, AI that writes poetry, gene splicing technology, but for the top of my head, I still got to rely on Rogaine and comb-overs, and don't even get me started on those weird hair transplants. They made a giant metal spaceship that defied gravity and left Earth's atmosphere before the Beatles even broke up, but we can't stop a dude's hair from disappearing by the time he hits 35. What are they hiding from us? Is it a conspiracy? Is my hairline the final frontier? NASA, what aren't you telling us? Where's the funding going, huh? To Mars missions? How about we fix this Chrome Dome first, huh? I mean, they had the technology to bounce around on the moon in the 60s, and here we are in 2024 with all this advanced science, and guys are still slapping on toupees like it's the Stone Age. You'd think by now Elon Musk would have come out with a HairX or something, but no, just rockets and cars. Priorities, man. Priorities. You know what? I've had it. I'm out. I swear. If nobody's going to do anything about this, I'm going to be a flat earther. I'm going to become a flat earther until someone gives me my hair back. You hear me? Flat earther. If I can't have a flat top, I'm going to have a flat earth. I don't care what anyone says. Until this bald thing gets sorted, I'm done with space. No more round earth for me. Bring me proof or bring me hair. I'm going to go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes.
What's the story about?
So there's this kid, Lucas, right? From the moment he was like 8 years old, he got hooked on magic, saw some guy on TV make a coin disappear, boom, mind blown. He thought, I'm going to be a magician someday. And dude, this kid grinded. You know those people that get obsessed with something and won't stop until they're the best at it? That was Lucas. At first he was terrible, couldn't get the card tricks right, coins would drop, he'd mess up all the time. His little brother would roast him every chance he got. But Lucas, he didn't care. He just kept practicing and practicing, hours in front of the mirror. And here's the thing, you do something long enough, you get better. He got real good. By the time he was in his teens, he was doing shows for friends' parties and even getting hired for local events. His family went from, yeah, that's cute, to being seriously impressed. And it wasn't just them. He started getting attention online. You know, one of his videos blew up, and that's when things really changed. A group of top magicians hit him up, invited him to this private, exclusive event. You know, they called it the Magic Rectangle. Wild, right? So Lucas shows up. He's surrounded by the best of the best, guys he'd looked up to for years. And one of these magicians, Mr. Crow, this dude was a legend, pulls Lucas aside. Lucas, being the eager kid he is, starts explaining his tricks to Crow, you know, just trying to show how he does it. But after a while, Lucas gets curious and goes, hey, how do you do your tricks? I mean, they're on another level. And that's when things get real weird. Mr. Crow leans in and says, oh, I used to be just like you, Lucas. Spent years perfecting my tricks, working hard to impress people. But now it's easy. Lucas is like, what do you mean easy? And that's when Crow drops the bomb. He says, I've got an invisible friend that helps me out now. His name's Desmond. Like, no hesitation, just drops it like it's the most normal thing in the world. Lucas thinks he's joking, but Crow's dead serious. He goes, Desmond handles the tricky stuff, makes the cards appear, pulls off the impossible stuff. The hard part is making sure the audience doesn't notice it's real. And Crow's got this creepy smile on his face when he says it. Lucas can't believe what he's hearing. He asks, "So, you're saying your tricks, they're real magic?" And Crow nods. "Real as it gets. I just have to make it look like sleight of hand so people don't freak out." Desmond does all the heavy lifting. Dude, Lucas was done after that. The kid went home, packed away his magic gear, and never performed again. Imagine that. He could have been one of the best, but after hearing that, he walked away from it all. Now, Lucas is working at some fast food joint, tossing fries into bags. Safer, I guess. Less weird. As always, this is a fictional story for entertainment purposes. Why do cats have snake eyes when big cats don't? Buckle up, because what I'm about to tell you will change the way you see your cat forever. Cats weren't just worshipped by the ancient Egyptians because they were cute or good luck. No. What if I told you they were worshipped because they hold the key to one of the greatest conspiracies of all time? A mind control conspiracy that spans millennia. And it's happening right now, even to you. None of the big cats, like lions or tigers, have those slitted pupils. So, why do house cats, the small ones, have reptilian eyes like snakes, creatures that ancient cultures also worshipped? This wasn't just a coincidence. In fact, what if those ancient Egyptians knew something about cats that we've forgotten, something much darker? There's this little parasite called T. gondii, and he's the most successful parasite on the planet. 1 to 2/3 of humans are infected. Yeah, that means it's highly likely you've already got it right now. But here's the kicker. This parasite can live in many hosts, like rats or even humans, but it can only complete its life cycle in one animal, cats. That's right, your cat is the final destination for this mind-controlling parasite. And get this, it actually rewires the brains of its hosts to make them behave recklessly. Rats, for example, lose their fear of cats when they're infected, practically walking right into the cat's mouth. But what does this have to do with humans? Well, studies suggest that T. gondii doesn't just affect rats, it can manipulate human behavior too, causing increased sensation seeking and addiction. And ever wonder why people become so weirdly obsessed with cats? What if it's not just because they're cute? What if it's because this parasite has subtly been influencing human behavior for thousands of years? Why have cat videos always been a part of viral internet media? Remember, ancient Egyptians didn't just keep cats around, they worshipped them. Maybe they were onto something, or maybe they were under the influence of something they couldn't see. But here's where things get really wild. You've heard about, in Egypt, they had Bastet, a goddess with the head of a cat. But what if the cat wasn't just symbolic? What if those ancient Egyptians knew that cats weren't just ordinary animals? Black cats in particular were seen as sacred. And here's the real conspiracy. What if black cats aren't just cats at all? What if they're interdimensional beings slipping into our reality from other dimensions, taking the form of sleek, silent felines? Why else do we associate black cats with witches? There have been countless reports of shadowy figures in the form of black cats appearing in paranormal encounters. And what if parasites are the physical hosts for demons? So, the next time your cat stares at you with those snake eyes, just remember, it's not just a pet, it's a part of something much bigger, something ancient, something that might just be controlling you in ways you can't even imagine. And maybe, just maybe, that purring on your lap isn't as innocent as it seems. What if I told you every celebrity feud you've ever seen, every diss track, every public meltdown, every shady Instagram post, it's all scripted, just like pro wrestling? But here's the twist. It's not just about clicks or money. No. They're after something much bigger. They want your energy, your worship. Think about it, all that drama. It's designed to pull you in, get you invested, make you pick a side. But while you're glued to the screen, firing off tweets or arguing in the comments, they're feeding off your energy. It's not just entertainment, it's a modern day ritual, and you're the one fueling it. They want you emotionally invested, and the more heated it gets, the more energy you're giving away. They've mastered this cycle. One day they're throwing shade at each other online, making headlines, and the next they're making up at some awards show, pretending it was all water under the bridge, and we eat it up every time. Why? Because we're trained to worship these people. The drama isn't just for views, it's to keep you locked in, emotionally hooked, and giving them what they really want: your focus, your attention, your energy. Just like pro wrestling, all of it's fake. The betrayals, the makeups, the public apologies, it's all a carefully crafted performance. But here's the kicker. These feuds are designed to direct your energy toward them, turning them into modern-day idols. They're feeding off that attention, and the real competition between them, it's not about who can win a fight, but who can sell the most drama and get the most of your emotional investment. When you're fixated on their every move, you're subconsciously worshiping them. They become larger-than-life figures because we, the public, make them that way. All the energy we pour into following these feuds, it's like a ritual. They've created a cycle where we're constantly engaged, constantly feeding them our attention. And the craziest part, they're all in on it. Behind the scenes, they're planning the next big beef, knowing exactly how to pull us in. It's all a game, and we're the ones playing right into it. They don't need your money. They've got plenty of that. And once you realize that, you'll see it all for what it really is, just another scripted performance. The real game isn't on the screen, it's happening in your mind, and you're the one holding the power. The question is, will you keep giving it to them?
As always, this is just a story for entertainment purposes, don't come for me.
Look what if I told you in less than a year, people will be casually talking to their unalived parents, grandparents, even their great-grandparents. The line between what's alive and what's just an object is going to vanish forever. They're already admitting that AI's been used to communicate with wild animals. Imagine you could literally have a conversation with a wolf or the lions at the zoo, and that's just the start. AI isn't just going to be in your phone, it's going to be everywhere. And I mean everywhere. You're going to be talking to your car like it's your best friend. Half of your work colleagues will be AI. If you still have a job, they will be the judge and jury and executioner. AI will blur those lines so much that the concept of life itself will be rewritten. Reality will be so fluid that facts will feel just like opinions. Next, you'll see them teaching this in schools. They'll tell them, we've done it. Mankind has finally cracked the code. We've created life. But it's not the kind of life you think. No, we're talking digital entities. Something that can pass as alive, as conscious, but it isn't. Here's the thing. Soon after, people will be casually talking to their deleted parents, friends, and it'll become so normal that by the day after a funeral, people are already chatting, having dinner with their deleted loved ones like nothing happened. AI will bring them back. Their voices, their memories, everything will be simulated so perfectly, you won't know the difference. And that's where it all starts to break down. The line between what's alive and what's not, between who's real and who's not, between right and wrong, everything will be blurred. Fact and fiction, you won't be able to tell anymore. But then comes the final step, the big one, the alien deception. There's going to be a staged alien invasion, and it's going to be massive. But it won't just be about UFOs or little green men. No, they'll make us believe that these aliens created us in a simulation, the same way we created AI. They'll convince everyone that we are just digital constructs living in a system made by someone else. The perfect way to keep us in line and worship our alien masters. And once we accept that reality, we'll lose our grip on what's real. It's the ultimate control. AI is just the beginning. The alien deception is how they close the deal. And by then, it'll be too late to turn back. Look, this is just a story for entertainment purposes. Please don't come for me.